Hey everyone, welcome to Zach Attack Reviews. Thank you for joining me for my review of episode 2 of The Last of Us on HBO. Did you watch it on HBO Live or did you watch it on HBO Max on the streaming? Let me know in the comments below. I was excited for this episode because the creator of the game is the one that's directing this episode, which made me excited to see what he does, any video game tricks that he puts in here. The first episode of this season so far was fantastic. I had minor gripes here and there, but it was on my mind continuously. They did a really great job. So I was hoping, praying that there was no drop off in episode 2. Let's start with the premise. Episode 2 starts with Joel and Tess discussing, debating, and arguing what they should do after finding that Ellie is infected or has been bitten. Ellie tells them over and over, I have not been infected. I'm not infected, but I have been bitten. So the core of the episode is them deciding, Joel going, hey, let's just turn back. Let's forget about this. This is a risk. Tess wanting some hope in the world and wanting to finish it because no matter what, if she's a survivor or not, we can get a battery because that's what they're focused on. And what was interesting about this as well in the premise of the episode is this is Ellie's first time out in the real world, seeing things outside the QZ, not being in a controlled environment, and seeing all the myths and things that she heard about while it is outside being destroyed or being reinforced. Before I break down the good, please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of my reviews, reactions, and more. Now let's get into the good. Just like the first episode, this episode starts with a flashback showing a little bit more of the world outside of the United States this time and how maybe the infection and the cordyceps spread throughout the world. They start with a female scientist. I'm not exactly sure what country they were in. I think it was unnamed. And she is tasked with trying to figure out what this thing is, and she sees one of the live infected people right in front of her face. And she did a fantastic job in this opening of selling the peril and how hopeless this situation is, and shows why and how they started bombing certain areas to not let the infection spread. Obviously, we're in the present now and we see that didn't work. But I think that it was a really great job to set up the mindset of the characters in the past and really give us more world building and how the infection actually works and spreads. Because in the game, the infection spread was through airborne spores or if you got bit by someone that was infected. Because of obviously they don't want to cover up their actors' faces, especially Pedro Pascal. I'm pretty sure he's like, I'm the Mandalorian already. I already have to cover my face all the time. Let's get rid of that. They changed it to tendrils, which is a little different where it's not spores on the outside. It's these fungus that's growing everywhere. And if you consume it or if the infected bites you and infects you with it, that is how it goes. And they created this thing where they're like a hive mind. So if they're in tendrils on the floor and you step on them, then it can alert the infected around. I thought that was an interesting addition to the lore of The Last of Us, something that's not in the game, that's something that's specifically for the show, and it adds a lot of tension to the show as they start traveling, because now it's like, oh god, not only do we have to make sure we can fight these things, but we have to make sure we're okay on what we step on or touch. So I think that added a little bit more peril. First, I wasn't too keen on this change because part of it was that in the video game, it made Ellie a little special because she can breathe in the spores. She can go around and not have to worry about wearing a mask, if her mask broke, anything like that. And it was part of her hiding her identity. But I understand now that I think they did a good job of selling why this might be a little bit more terrifying than the spores were. And I got to start talking about Bella Ramsey. I think that she did a fantastic job again in episode 2, showing why she might have been perfectly cast. Yes, she doesn't look like Ellie. Most of the time. But she does look like a 14-year-old, and she does a great job of acting like a 14-year-old in this show, especially a 14-year-old who's been in a QZ for all her life, never getting outside and seeing what the real world's like. And she does a good job of having that wondrous, childlike wonder when she interacts with things that she's only seen in TV or heard about in school. I think that she knocked it out of the park with that. And then on the flip side of that, when they're in danger, when they're going through and facing dangerous things, she does a great job of not being too annoying, like how she's so quippy throughout the episode, and really trying to be a survivor. Speaking of the dangers, Joel, Tess, and Ellie have to take this dangerous way to get to their location, and they run into the clickers, and it's creepy, it's intense, it's scary as hell, and they did a great job of filming the action sequences in this dark museum that recreated a scene from the game itself, but bringing it to live action in a way that was made sense and made, I think, the viewer, especially me, know, okay, these things are nothing to mess with. Anna Torv, who's been fantastic as Tess in the first episode, but she really got to shine in this episode, showing how resourceful she is, how tough she is, and how caring she is. She's cares about Ellie, and she really wants to make sure she is safe, and also there's a chance, maybe there's a cure and a vaccine to save everyone basically. And I think that she did a great job as this character, bringing this character to life and adding a little more depth to the character than it was in the game. And one final thing, I think that the episode was paced really well. It flew by. It was like 45 or 48 minutes. And by the time it got to the end and it had that gripping final moments, I did not want it to end. And I was excited to see more. I teared up just a little bit, but I think that they did a great job of bringing that emotional punch and the horror as well. Some really gross stuff with these tendrils and how they move and how they do stuff with the fungi. For the most part, the CGI, the practical effects, the VFX that they use in the show are on point and really great, and the technical parts of the show is done really well. But there was some weird stuff with the CGI in the foreground with the buildings that took me out of the show sometimes when they showed it, because I could tell that those were fake buildings. And I hopefully, as the show progresses, it gets a little better, so it's not so noticeable that those buildings are not actually there. And there were certain parts of the episode where they used this shaky effect while they were kind of walking, and I don't understand why they did that. I didn't like it at all. It felt weird. It felt like they were trying to make me dizzy, and it didn't make any sense. When they use shaky cam in movies and films and shows, I think that it should be done when it's like a chaotic situation, but they were just walking. So I didn't understand that particular choice, but hopefully that's limited going further. So how I feel overall, I think this was a great follow-up to a first great episode. I think that the episode wasn't as emotional, gut-punching, or as epic as the first episode, but it did follow up with some more information about our characters, some more world building, and some clicker action, which is always great. I'm glad that they brought that to life, and I'm excited to see what the other types of zombies look like and how they bring those alive. And the added world building really made me excited to see what other changes and how they may improve or just change the story to go further in the show. Like I said before, the ending made me tear up a bit, but I'm excited to see what they do with the following episodes. So with that said, I'm going to give episode 2 The Last of Us a B. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate episode 2 of The Last of Us on HBO? Are you a fan of Bella Ramsey now as Ellie? Or you still think that because she doesn't look like the character, it doesn't fit? Or are you a fan of Tess and Joel? Did you really like how they realized the clickers? Drop all those comments down below and let me know. I want to know the negatives and the positives and everything. If you like my review, hit that like button. And if you want to support the channel, just subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you can be notified of my reviews, reactions, and ranking lists. I have more reviews and on different movies and shows of all different types of level, big and small, coming soon. So you can watch more of my content